Joining me right now is the former CEO of CKE Restaurants, former Labor Secretary nominee, and author of the book Capitalist Comeback. Andy Puzder is here. Andy, great to see you this morning. Thanks for joining us. I guess I want to get your reaction to what we just heard from President Biden and what you think is the reason for that weaker than expected jobs number on Friday.
Well, really, if you want to know what the reason is, just go ask anybody who's running a local business. Go to your local restaurant, clothing store, drugstore. I don't care where you go. Ask anybody that's working in a business right now, and they'll tell you that people aren't working because they're able to get these very generous unemployment benefits. And if that weren't the case, it's funny to hear President Biden out there talking about this, because a couple of days ago, he was saying, oh, no, people aren't taking jobs because they're still afraid of the virus. They can't get child care. Now, 2 days later, he feels like he has to go on TV and say, you know what, we're going to make it harder. We're going to make it harder to get those unemployment benefits. You now have to go out and look for a job. As you know, many states waived that requirement during the pandemic, and only about 20 states have reinstated it. So Biden's now out there saying, it really isn't unemployment benefits, but we're going to make it harder to get them, just in case. He wants it both ways.
Well, it's pretty extraordinary, actually, where we find ourselves. I mean, by the way, the parents looking for childcare, that's because they're not opening the schools. I mean, that's also part and parcel of policy and the teachers union. But look at a company like, for example, Chipotle, looking to hire more than 20,000 workers. They said they want to raise the pay to an average $15 an hour. What do you think about this? Is this where this is going, that companies will have to come out with incentives to get people to get back to work?
They will. And the question is, when all of this money that the government's pouring into the economy, when that is over, when it evaporates and you've no longer got these dollars out there falsely creating demand, our business is going to be able to survive with these high wages. And the only way they can survive is if they raise prices. If you're not getting a tremendous amount of sales through the door, tremendous amount of revenue, you've got to do something to compensate for those labor costs, and you're going to have to raise prices. And I think Larry Summers was saying the alarm bells are going off on very significant inflation coming down the road, and this will contribute to that. But look, Chipotle is going to get some good employees with $15 an hour. I think other companies that want to get good employers are going to have to compete. If the economy is driving wages like that, then you've got something to offset. You've got something to offset the labor costs, because the economy is really improving your business. When it's government largesse, when it's these checks that cause that, then you got a problem.
Yeah. Well, look, you heard Jamie Dimon the other day say, it's not a good idea to throw all this money around. You wrote an op-ed for Fox Business that says all President Biden and the Democrats had to do to restore the economy was nothing. Just do nothing. Explain.
Well, look, the economy's roaring back. We've got all of this money out there already that's creating incredible demand. You want to go out. We want to go to restaurants. We want to take trips. We want to do all of the things we were doing before the pandemic. The problem isn't that people don't have money. The problem is that we don't have supply. We don't have, they can't find labor. You can't get cars. You can't find employees to staff your business. So going and pouring more money into the economy, increasing the deficit, increasing our debt, pouring even more gasoline on this economic fire isn't going to help long term. All you had to do for people to work is not do anything. Don't extend the $300 a week, don't work incentive. Don't talk about raising people's taxes. Just do nothing for a period of time, and the economy would have come roaring back. It was roaring back in January, February, March, before Biden's policies took effect. And you could see the effect of his policies in April. We had the biggest miss in jobs numbers, I think, on record. I've never heard of a miss of like 750,000 jobs. I mean, this was an incredible miss by the economists who believe these Biden policies of, demand side economics actually work. They don't work. And April was a good demonstration of just how bad they can be.
Yeah. Well, you're right. It was a serious miss. Jackie, jump in here.
Andy, I'm just wondering what you think of the case of New York City specifically within the context of what you're talking about here, because we were one of the places that was hit the hardest by this, and you still have a governor and a mayor that are saying we won't fully be reopened until July, when there's no reason to be holding off to that extent. We could have opened months ago. The positivity rate here on COVID cases is roughly 2%, and you've also got a population in this city that has been, fully vaccinated, a large part of the population. So why are they talking about July 4th as a date to reopen? It just all seems political.
Well, it is all political. I think, look, the Democrats have been very open about this. Joe Biden in particular, he views the pandemic as an opportunity to fundamentally transform America. They want to take us to this government-dependent, collectivist, socialist type economy, and they're doing everything they possibly can to move us in that direction. And their enemy is the pandemic is ending and people just want to get back to normal. I live in Tennessee. People are out there going to restaurants. They're outside. They're not wearing masks. I was in New York a couple of weeks ago, and it was really very depressing. People are still like on this, stay 6 feet away from me. You don't have a mask on in Central Park. It's like you're the enemy. It's mentally, psychologically very bad for people. They need to stop doing what they're doing in New York. Plus on top of that, you have, people scared to be there because the police force has been emasculated. But so you've got people wearing masks. They're afraid to talk to other people. The police aren't protecting people. New York's got serious problems. I hope the next time we elect a mayor in New York who actually has some idea what he's doing.
Yeah, it is definitely a serious problem. Adam, jump in.
Well, we talk about this all the time at Accuracy in Media. The media builds up these politicians as if they're enlightened heroes who are smart enough to run our lives. But let's remember that it wasn't the CDC or the FDA or Fauci who ended the pandemic. It was vaccines from Big Pharma. And as Andy's saying, it's not going to be Biden and the bureaucrats and the knob turners who figure out a way to turn around the economy. It's private sector businesses. The best thing the politicians can do is get the heck out of the way. As we've said for centuries, the government is best that governs least.
Well, that's absolutely true. Biden's out there talking about increasing government programs, increasing government spending. He's going to increase state employees. He's got to understand the private sector needs to create jobs. That's where the tax revenue comes from. You can't just spend and spend and spend and hire government employees and think that's going to solve the problem.
Well, look, they're having a fight right now in Washington because the Democrats want to make the $300 permanent. Andy, it's good to see you this morning. Thank you, sir.
Good to see you, Maria.
Yeah,
Thanks.
it's crazy. We will keep spotlighting it. Andy Puzder joining us there this morning.